In this video, we're going to see how we can manipulate the parameters of collision to create some very interesting sounds. So I have here a MIDI clip already made in Collision, and you will get used to hearing it. You'll probably be sick of it by the end of the video. And I'm just going to play it, and it's going to loop while I change some parameters, and we'll see how that affects the sound. So here it is. And so you can see if I increase the noise of the mallet or decrease it, I can change the frequency content of that noise and the stiffness of the mallet. When there is an increase in noise and a decrease in stiffness, the noise pokes out a little more. Let's keep going here. I'm going to mess around with this filter here. I could turn the noise oscillator off altogether, and we could have just the mallet, or vice versa. If I adjust the listening parameters, it will sound like the mallet is being hit at different spots around us. Set to 0, it sounds like it's coming from the middle. Here it is at the left. Here it is at the right. Very interesting sounds. Here it is with some randomness. With an added pitch envelope. Now with any of these parameters that have key and velocity tracking modulation available, I can go into my MIDI clip and I can adjust my velocity, or I could change the pitch. I mean, by definition, the melody has different pitches, so that's already happening. All I would need to do is raise the parameter value. But let's take a look at velocities. So first of all, if you cannot see your velocities in the MIDI editor, you can just click this little triangle at the bottom, and they usually come up kind of small. You can drag that up to make it taller. Each one of these red sticks is a velocity indicator, and you can see if I hover over it, it gives me the velocity in a display 102. MIDI velocity goes between 0 and 127 for a total range of 128 discrete steps. And velocity is basically how hard you hit a MIDI keyboard, or if you're drawing these in or typing them in, then you can adjust them after the fact. So for instance, I could grab a set of notes and I could adjust those velocities all at once, so they move sort of proportionally like that. Or I could do the opposite. I could grab the velocities directly and move them. And so let's see how all of these react when I go into Collision and I'm going to adjust some of these properties. So for instance, volume, that'd be an easy one to do. With velocity, I'm going to crank that up to 100%. And now notes with higher velocities will be louder than notes with lower velocities. And I'm going to turn the whole thing down and then slowly bring it up. It's quite a big difference. If I enable this noise again and I set the filter frequency to be affected by key position and by velocity, then we'll hear some other interesting effects. That kind of swooping sound is the sound of the filter reacting to the velocity and the key position. We could have a lot of these parameters responding to key tracking and velocity. I couldn't go through them all. If I went through them all, the video would be an hour long. So let's move on for now and check out a different sound. This is the Pad 1 Metal. Now this is a preset, and I just want to show you some of the array of sounds that can be achieved with Collision here. So this has no mallet. It's all noise going into resonator 1. You can see that the LFO is set to a 16th note here, and it's modulating the volume. So if I play a key, you can sort of see the volume modulating. The resonator has brightness set to negative 28%, and then it's panned slightly to the right. And we're using the string as the material, so the noise going into the string with an LFO. How about this airy tube bass? Here we have the material is a beam, and the mallet is on and the noise is off. Let's hear this. Totally different sound. And again, we can look at the parameters to determine why that is like that. We have key and velocity tracking happening here with the volume of the mallet. We have a high level of noise, mallet noise. The color and stiffness have been changed. There's no noise oscillator active. There's no LFO or MIDI modulation really happening. And so everything is happening with this mallet and this resonator. Resonator 2 is not even turned on. So we get this little chuffing sound, and that's the noise there. Finally, we have this Balafon 2 Bright, and if I play it, again, we have this beam setting. If I were to change that to something else, like a pipe, that's, just, you can make so many dramatic changes with one little setting. So Collision has a wide variety of sounds possible. It looks very intimidating at first, but once you start to play around with it and you understand that many of these boxes do the same thing, the key tracking and velocity tracking, they just affect different parameters, then it becomes more manageable. You're able to use it, and you're able to simulate both real world and imaginary materials being struck by a mallet or vibrated with noise.